I think players want to play for the Canes. I think players see the value in the Canes. I think they like Rod. I think they like the players. I think it's situational and how the Canes kind of handle themselves that's leading to this mass exodus, if you want to call it, or this kind of underwhelming feeling through the early part of free agency.
Well, we knew there was going to be turnover. They just couldn't afford to keep everybody.
But I like it, with the way it's happened and the way it's been kind of universal, it doesn't feel like if Guentzel stayed, or if Shea stayed, or if a big name free agent, then it would feel like you had to make a decision, right? It was this or that, and we went with that. So you look at this and say, hey, good luck. Because there really hadn't been any of that big move, it feels like, why does nobody want us, man? Right? Pesci's out. He is synonymous with the Canes. He's been around for a long time. His arrival, I actually believe, or his kind of promotion and aligned with Slavin around the same time.
Basically, yeah.
Leading that defense, you can kind of draw a direct line from that happening to the upward trajectory of the Canes, and they've ridden that wave together.
Man, he's been part of the turnaround here. Massive part of it.
And to see him leave, which, by the way, good decision, right? I think the terms of his contract with New Jersey is not one that it would have been smart to meet with his shoulder injury. But I think that's one, like, if we knew there was going to be turnover. If Pesci left and he gets 6 years somewhere else, and with those shoulder injury histories, I think that's one where the fan base would have been able to look at him and go, we knew there was going to be change. Wish you would have been able. You're one of our guys. You're part of the foundation. When we win our cup, hopefully you're sitting on your couch somewhere watching and you're proud because you were a part of it. But the fact that it's Pesci and Shea and Teuvo and Guentzel and Nason, and there isn't really a big fish coming back in the other direction, you start to look at it and go, you know what? I'm not as cool with this, right? If you brought back some of them, it'd be like, all right, yeah, we had to choose. We had to choose between Guentzel and Shea and Pesci. We chose Guentzel. Now it's like we had to choose between Guentzel and Shea and Pesci, and we picked none of them.
Yeah.
And we picked sadness.
Yeah, Shea signed for $7 million a year over 7 years with Nashville. Like you said, $5.5 per year over 6 years for Brett Pesci. I think a lot of these moves
just priced out.
Yeah, just kind of priced out a little bit. And I think also as well is that they had agreed to a deal with Jake Guentzel. Like literally 3 days before, it was back at like Thursday, before the draft even started. Hey, there's a deal set with Jake Guentzel. He wants 8 years, $8 million per year. And it's like, all right, we'll meet you there. We'll figure out how we want to structure signing bonus and all that kind of stuff that goes into it. It was set.
I push back on one thing.
What?
Agreed to me, means pen to paper.
Well, yes, I understand. But like handshake agreement, we agree on terms. Now let's hammer out the minutia of the details before we actually sign it. And then all of a sudden, Tampa Bay is like clears all this cap space at the draft, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, actually, we want to go to Tampa Bay. This is kind of how it feels for me. Is that, like, for example, like in recruiting for college sports, my number 1 school might offer me, but I want to make sure I can get into my number 2 school, so I'll verbally commit to my number 2 school. Then as soon as my number 1 offers me, boom, sign that letter of intent. I'm out of here. That's 100% what happened. Jake Guentzel wanted to go to Tampa Bay. It's not like he's got that much more money to go there. He clearly wanted to go to Tampa, and he was waiting for Tampa to say, we can make this happen, and that's what he did. He backed out on the deal.
But here's the thing. Until pen to paper, like, here's the example. To use your example, it'd be as if he could only sign a letter of intent with the Canes. He wasn't allowed to sign a letter of intent with his number 1 school, and the Canes did not appropriately put the pressure on him. Because you'll see this in college football, again, recruiting all the time, where they'll say, like, listen, we got 1 scholarship for 4 of you. We've offered all 4. The first one to commit gets the scholarship, right? Teams and the programs can do that too. If the Canes, the place they blew it, if they truly wanted Guentzel, is letting it be, all right, we'll figure out the terms and conditions as this goes along. Like, to me, if he says, hey, I want 8x8, You quickly say yes. And if he goes, well, let's talk about the structure, you go, let's get in a room. We're not leaving until it's done and signed. If you need to worry about the structure for 4 days, I know I'm getting twisted up into a pretzel. I know I'm being used. In free agency, if you are a team that has the rights to sign somebody and they quote unquote agree to a deal and they're not putting pen to paper, my antennas and alarms are firing at all cylinders going, you might be getting played. Right? So if Guentzel on whatever day it is, Thursday, says, hey, 8x8, that's what I want. And the Canes go later Thursday, deal. Got you. Found the money. How do you want it? Small bills? You want it up front?
You want fives,
you want it in a duffel bag? Like, what are we looking at? And he goes, well, actually, let's figure this out over the next 4 days. I'm going, oh, you want us to just figure it out until free agency opens up? Cute, buddy. Been down here before.
Well, I think it's also the front office for the Canes and the agent for Jake Guentzel. Like, hey, we're operating good faith here. We agreed to terms. Let's figure out, okay, do you want $50 million of it to be signing bonus, 53, 52? Like, we'll figure that kind of stuff out.
And in that case, it's Survivor. You got to trust somebody. You chose the wrong one.
Yeah, well, clearly.
You chose the wrong one. And
that's the thing.
The thing is, again, and I'm a massive Survivor fan, nobody blames the person that does the backstabbing. It's, right, the person who trusted the wrong person is the one who's sitting there in their confessional going, man, I'm so stupid. How did I trust them? If the Canes are mad, I think part of it is in themselves trusting Jake Guentzel or Jake Guentzel's agent or whoever to operate in that good faith if it happened. Right? Because if Guentzel just wanted to go to Tampa, if his entire goal was to end up in Tampa because he likes having, low income or no income tax, and he, I don't know, he wants to have a beach spot down there in Palm Beach or something.
Yeah.
St. Pete. If his goal was just to end up in Tampa, it's on the Canes to snuff that out. It's on the Canes to sniff it out and go, all right, we're just the other team here.
Well, that's the thing. Like Tampa probably wasn't in play at least until they were able to clear a bunch of cap space during the draft. So that was the thing. It's like there's like, well, you're not even re-signing your own guy in Steven Stamkos.
Then
so
get
what
the
makes
deal
you
signed
think,
before they clear the cap space.
But again, that's on Jake Guentzel. Like he clearly was like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out.
Every
that
deal
clearly
you
was
offers,
the case.
Yeah, that's fine. You got to sniff that out. That's part of part of a negotiation. It's part of being a free agent, and also to have your double secret agents. Right?
Yeah.
What if that's what I say when it's like a friend in the league that catches wind of something and calls you up and goes, "Hey man, I know you think you're close on Guentzel. Listen,
Tampa Bay is talking to him the whole time.
They're in his pocket. He wants Tampa. They just got to try to figure. You better have a pivot ready. That's all I'm going to say. By the way, this message will self-destruct in 3,
in 3
2,
minutes.
1. Like that is, and I'm not, by the way, not blaming Tulsky, right? Because everybody gets got sometimes, if that's what happened here. But that is the concern, bringing in a guy like Tulsky that doesn't have the Rolodex and doesn't have the friends around the league that a guy like Don Waddell had.
And it's also a group decision by Carolina. It's not all on Tulsky. It's Tulsky, it's Tom Dundon, the owner, Darren York, the assistant GM. And remember, it's a group decision. It always has been.
But as soon as Don Waddell left, we were like, all right, you promote Tulsky. Who's taking that hockey guy role? Could be an assistant, could be a consultant. Who's taking that hockey guy role? To my knowledge, they haven't filled. They said they're going to do at least one hire. They haven't filled it yet. Like that is part of front officing, is monitoring the market and knowing where you stand, right? And knowing where guys want to go. Matter of fact, look at the guys that left. Pesci, where did he go?
New Jersey.
Back home.
Yep, back home.
Tavo, where did he go?
Back to where he started his career, Chicago.
Back to where he's got some history. Steph Nason, where did he go?
Back to an organization
back to where he's got some history.
Jersey.
Like sometimes you need to read the market and see, all right, are these guys choosing for just pure money, where if we meet the money, they're gonna, like, if we're $1 more than the highest bidder, that's where they're gonna go. Or like, and by the way, like Jacob Slavin, if you listen to his press conference today, there was a lot of, we love it here, and he's talking about his family, right? And we're with the culture and the guys and everything. Like it wasn't just, hey, 8 years, $6.46 million is the most I think I can get. Part of it was the other stuff. You have to be able to monitor a situation on, what are these guys choosing for? Where do they want to go? Do we have a realistic shot? And that's in any negotiation at all, right? There are moments, but the biggest negotiations most of us are going to do, right? I don't think many of us will end up NHL GMs.
Not yet.
There's only a hand. Once they get to an expansion, that's where
exactly. I'm in.
That's where it hits. Most of the biggest negotiations we're going to do is like for a house, right? And you get that feeling when you're like, I don't think they're actually going to accept our offer, but they want to use our offer to get more out of the other people bidding. And it's like you just look around the room and you're like, is anyone else feeling that? I feel like they don't actually want us. If you got that feeling from Jake Guentzel, you have to then pivot, right? Then heck, you might, like, if you knew that Tampa wanted him desperately and just cleared all this space for him, maybe you offer 8-5 just so they have to offer 9-5. Like, then you can play the whole game. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here. By the way, the Canes did agree to terms with a few players.
Oh, real quick on Jake Guentzel,
Yep.
talking about stuff behind the scenes. The third-round pick they got to trade his rights for Jake Guentzel.
Great point.
Like, the third-round pick they got to trade Jake Guentzel's rights to Tampa Bay yesterday.
Can I give some background on this? So
hush money is what
yes,
it was. It was hush money.
I was going to let you hit that, and I'll come back to you. But just so everybody knows, Jake was going to be an unrestricted free agent today at noon. Yesterday, we caught wind that Jake Guentzel was traded to Tampa for a third-round pick.
We heard it like 11 a.m. yesterday.
Which,
roughly.
On the surface, I went, I wonder if that gets them, because the Canes, as the rights holder for Jake Guentzel, were allowed to offer him 8 years, and everybody else, once he hit unrestricted free agency, would only be allowed to offer him a 7-year contract. So the kind of assumption was like, they must be, I think it's too late, but they must be able to offer the 8th year if they trade for him, because that would make sense. Turns out all they got was a 12-hour or 24-hour head start on negotiations for a 7-year deal, because it had passed the point of waivers and everything. So they couldn't offer the 8th year. So it does feel like, especially, I'm just going to throw this out there, they were obviously in some kind of conversation with him.
100%.
And it might be tampering, but it'll so impossibly proven that it'll never be pushed. But I'm like, they must be they must know that they have an offer that he would accept. Why wouldn't they just save their third-round pick and wait till today, July 1st at noon, and then announce it, and then you get to save your first and end up exactly where they are anyway? Now, Dennis, why would they give that third-round pick?
Hush money.
Because now the Canes won't say they were tampering with our player and make us think about it. That's the only reason I can justify. That's the only reason I can decipher.
That's what it was.
And
hush money.
We'll never get again until Jake Guentzel writes his book, How I Left Carolina. We won't get all the details, but it feels a lot like hush money. It feels a lot like we'll give you a third if you pretend that you don't know we tampered with your player. And the Canes, who are hoarders of picks, are like, all right, we'll take this third and throw it on. Like, they've got like a record collection just in a pile with picks, and there's like, here you go, throw it on there, another third to go with our 10 picks we made this year. And how many thirds they have next year? It's got to be up 3+ already, because they traded into one, they have their original, and they got the one in the Jake Guentzel deal. They're just hoarding picks.
They have like 3 next year.
Goodness gracious.
Or 2, actually. I have to take that back.
You know what?
One of their thirds was used to
I would have denied the third.
Was actually part of the Evgeny Kuznetsov trade.
Oh, okay, you're right.
So, yeah, but they still have 2 next year, though.
I would have gone down with the ship. I would have said, no, you're not giving me a third just so I can. And then I would call Tampa in the middle of the night and go, I'm going to tell the league you were tampering, and then hang up. Not getting the third-round pick would be worth just the hanging it over their head for now until eternity. I'd pay people to go, like, throw bricks, not through their window, but just like leave them on their front porch, written in Sharpie, be like, tampering.